I'll be covering a few more in-depth content-related items. We'll update a few items on the front end of the website, but also navigate to a few common areas under the website tab that can be a bit unfamiliar, maybe a little intimidating to some users. And we'll go over a few items such as splash pages that have come up more recently and how they can be effective to get messages out to fans and supporters of your school athletics. So we'll hop back over here. The first thing we're going to do is go to the front end and discuss updating navigation bars. So the navigation bars are any bar that looks like this across your website. Most sites will have them at the top. Tampa has theirs at the bottom. And so this is what's called the global nav. Within here, there's two areas where you'll most likely be updating on the global nav. First one is your sports menu. Every season when you have new schedules and rosters to share, for example, this year, your 2020-21 schedules and rosters, you'll need to update all of these links here. This is becoming a pretty common standard feature across all of our websites to have the sport, and then these quick links, what I like to call them the quick links here. And then some schools have chose to add this custom development for the social media links as well. So just to take a look at one of these, for example, if Tampa was ready to update our men's soccer links, we'll go ahead and edit that. And we'll come in here and using our edit wiki there from the front end of the site. And once you're there, you'll see that they've already updated and put in their roster for 2020-21, but not their schedule. So all you'll do here is once you have that schedule in and ready to share, just take your mouse, click there, simply update the year, and then you're all set. You'll see this gray bar show up underneath. That means that that's a file that exists in our system. If the gray bar isn't there, like that, for example, that means there's not a file there. It will let you save this, but that will not, it'll link to a dead page because that's not a page that exists. So it's always best to make sure you see this gray bar that confirms this is a real link, and then you can just click that and hit Save Changes. One thing to keep in mind here is that as you're adding all this stuff through game day especially, our system's going to automatically generate all these links. So this path is always going to be the same. It's always going to be sports, the specific sport, then the year, and then the item. So in this case, we're looking at sports, men's soccer, the year, and their schedule. Down here, we're looking at sports, men's soccer, the year, and their roster. The roster schedule news, those always stay the same because our system generates those automatically. So all you have to do is update the year, save changes, and you're all set to roll that over. Now there's two places you need to do this though, because these navigation bars work independently. So we've already updated the menu right here. Now we need to go to the men's soccer page itself and update what we call the secondary nav, which is this bar right here. In Tampa, you'll notice has quite a few items under their more menu. This is another area where you can come in and add more content for the individual team pages. So if you have some camps you want to promote, any information, history, any items like that you want to promote for an individual sport, this is a great place to add them. So you'll just come into your secondary navigation bar here. And it's again the same exact idea for updating the schedule roster news. All you're going to do is come in and update your year. And once that's done, you'll see the gray link appear, and that tells you it's a real link, and then you're all set. But again, as you can see, they have a number of different links in here to their standings on their conference site and items like that. So this is a place where you can always come and add more items. If you want to do so, all you'll do is hit Add Here, and you'll notice the column on the left is, as it says up here, this is your label. This is the label of what's going to show in the menu. This is the text. The target URL, this is what happens when somebody clicks that link, where it's going to take them. This can be either a link to an internal page, as you see here, or an external page, as you can see up here with their standings that are going to their Sunshine State Conference website. So you could put an external link to any site here if you want, and paste the URL in there, and you'll be all set. That is the basics for updating the nav bars. Now we're going to transition into archives and cover schedule, roster, and news archives, all three of which we have set for as system options. Our news archives are the easiest and best. So if we take a look at a news page here, you'll notice this is all of their 1920 news. And here in the right corner, this is automatically generated for every sports and general news page. It's going to be a drop-down with every year that you have a news section set up within the site. And if we go to one of those, you can see every news story from that year that's been featured. So this is a great way to archive all your news stories, and our system does it automatically. So one thing to always keep in mind when you're writing releases through game day, make sure you're featuring, when you're picking your headlines, make sure you're picking the 1920 news for your specific sport, and it will add it to this page for you so that you'll automatically have these news archives year by year ready to go. The schedule and roster archives are a little different, and they work independent of each other and require some manual setup. So for the schedule, this is how it's going to look on the front end of the website. You'll have this drop-down menu here, and as you can see, it's got every year listed that Tampa has a schedule in the system that they've chosen to manually put in here. And you can just go back and look at any past season to see any of the records. Once this is set up, you can edit from the front end using the Edit Wiki. So if we click Edit here, you can see how this is set up, and it's pretty standard and straightforward, just like our other nav bars are always going to look like this, with your label on the left, link on the right. And as you can see over here, if you need to rearrange the order for any reason, for example, when you add a new one, it's going to put it all the way at the bottom. So the easiest way to move things from around in here, you can use the up and down arrows. But that requires a bit of work, but you can also drag and drop to rearrange the order of items in here. So once you have that item at the bottom, you can just drag it up to the top of the page, and then you'll be all set. So that is, once this is set up, that's how that operates. But in order to set this up, it has to be done through the website tab. So let's just hop back into the back end of Tampa's site and take a look at that setup. If you come into the website tab, you'll go into your sports folder and pick your sport. We were looking at men's soccer, so we'll just stick with that. And you'll see in here, I just passed it, it was right there, the Nav Bar Scheduled Archive. This is that file that we were editing through this edit button on the front end of the site. So what you have to do is create this file yourself. Or we can help, and there's instructions for all of this stuff in our Help Center as well. And we'll be providing those links as well here afterwards. But to add the Nav Bar Scheduled Archive, you'll just come under Options here on the right, click Add Here. Under your content type, you're going to look for your Nav Bar text. Leave your section as it is because you want to make sure it goes into the sports men's soccer folder. You'll hit Continue. Make sure your name is that Nav Bar Schedule Archive. It has to be named that. That's our system name for it. That's how our system knows to put it on the schedule. You'll leave everything else here blank as it is. Hit Continue. And then this is where you'll have that blank nav bar where you can begin adding out all your years, the label, and then put in the link to that schedule file. Hit Save Changes, and then you're all set. It's going to automatically appear on the website. For roster archives, very similar to schedule archives in appearance, in that there's just be a menu here in the right corner that will allow you to look at past years in that sense. The editing and setup is different, though, in that it operates under the options file for each sport. So if we're back here in our sports men's soccer folder, under the website tab, you'll see an options file. Every sports file and the website tab in general will have an options file independent of each other. If not, you can always add one under content type by going to Add Here, or we can set this up for you if you have any questions about it. The options file allows for quite a few varieties, but we'll touch on the roster archives first. So when we go in and edit, you'll notice this section right here is the roster archives. To set these up, it's a link to the roster itself. You can see here that link, the sports, men's soccer, the year, the roster. Tampa already has theirs set up for 2020. And then this is the text that's going to show in that menu. So if they wanted to, you could change it to put, if you want the full school year, you can put that in, or you can do what Tampa does and leave it to just be that athletics year, not the full academic year. That's up to you how you want that to display. Then you put a comma and go ahead and add in the next one. As you can see, we have a link, colon, the year, comma, the link for 1819, as you can see, just goes on and on through all their years. So that's where the roster archives are set up. And again, this is going left to right, and that's going to go top to bottom on the front end presentation. So that's just something to keep in mind while you're building this out. And it does make it a little easier because once it's all set up and when you come in to add a new one, you don't have to go all the way to the left. You're just going to add it here if you want this set up from the top to bottom view. You just hit Save Changes, and then you're all set for your roster archives. We're going to stick here in the options file now and go over a little more detail of what's available in the options file. And really, this is a place for users to come in and just poke around and try some new things. Because once you open your options file, you'll see this Add button here. If you press that, there are a number of different options here that you can add for different styles of views for your site, whether it be the headline presentation, how the thumbnail images show inside of a release, add the infinity scroll to your site. There's a lot of different options here for adding items. So instead of going through all of this, I recommend you just come in here when you have some free time, take a look at it, and try around with a few different things. We also have a Help Center page that details each of these items and kind of outlines what they all do and what they all represent within the system. Some of the most important ones, though, are your roster fields and labels. As you can see, Tampa has theirs set up here. And what these are, it allows you to customize how your rosters show on the site. And you can also do the same thing with your schedules. So you can see here, they have it set up to show their number, the name, position, height, weight, class, hometown high school, and previous college. So this is the labels. Those are what's going to actually show on the roster. And your fields, these are very specific fields that are set up to pull the data through our system. So this is our system labels for all these items. So we have number, it's obviously the word spelled out instead of the abbreviation. So you can see all these items here as they're written out and how this is set up. We have a Help Center page that lists out all these items as well, how they need to be written specifically in the system in order for our system to identify them. But again, this allows you to customize how your roster fields, how your roster looks on the website and the information that you're displaying. You can also see the item, the sortable fields. This allows you to pick different items that are sortable on the front end roster. By setting these up, that means somebody can click that field and it's going to become sortable on the roster. Otherwise, I believe just last name and number are default sortable fields in the Presto system. And as I mentioned, these fields and labels, you can also do this for your schedule. So you can rearrange the order of how things look in your schedule. If you want, if you want your results right next to your opponent's name, or if you want it all the way to the right, or however you want the order of things to show on your schedule. And you can also add and remove items. If you don't want to show notes on your schedule, you can remove that. Or if you do, you can add that. So again, the options file is just a good place to come in, poke around, and find out some new things. We'll move on now to splash pages. Splash pages have become a pretty important thing nowadays, especially given everything going on with COVID-19 and a lot of uncertainty about the restart of sports and just getting information out to fans. This is a great way to do that and accomplish that in a way that will get their attention. And it's a very seamless and easy setup for users like yourself. So once the initial setup is done by our support team. If you want to start using splash pages, I would recommend sending an email to web@prestosports.com. If you haven't used one on your website before, just to ensure we have everything set up. Once it's all set up, then you'll be able to run it and manage it whenever you'd like without any concerns. So once it's set up, you'll have a folder in the website called Splash. And if we go in there, this is just a way to keep everything organized and know where all your previous splash pages have been used. You can see Tampa then went and created a separate folder for all their photos that they're using on these splash pages, just to keep everything organized. So to walk through the creation of a splash page, once you're in your folder here, you'll come under Options on the right and click Add Here. And from your content type menu, you'll select Splash. On this page, all you're going to do is add a name. And again, this can be anything. I'm just going to call it test. And this is the file name, though. So it's going to show up in the URL. So it's best, obviously, to make it somewhat of an indicator so you know what file it is. You can leave the rest of this blank, hit Continue. And then this is where you'll actually build out that splash page. Obviously, before you come in here, you'll want to have a graphic created. As you can see here, we recommend making it 800 by 600 pixels. But to start from the top of the page and work down, first thing you'll do when you get into this page is feature this to the correct headlines file for the splash pages. So if we come here, you'll see right away this is all the options that allow splash pages within the site. You're going to be looking for this landings/splash headlines. So we'll select that, hit Add, and you'll see it adds that here. This is what will put that on your home page. We can also set up splash pages to show on individual sport pages. So if you have some news that you only want to show on your women's soccer page, for example, we can set that up and add this so that you have a landing women's soccer splash headlines to add something for that specific sport. But this will put it on your home page. So first thing that happens when fans visit your site, this splash page will pop up and alert them with the graphic or the video that you choose to display there. You'll set your live date here. You can pick today, and it will put it up within a few minutes of processing and getting everything ready. Or you can set to go live at a future date, and the live date at that point will be at 12:01 a.m. So if I were to set this to go live Thursday the 14th. It's going to go live Thursday morning, bright and early. So as soon as everyone, anyone gets up, gets on your website in the morning, that alert's going to be there. So splash pages are great for future release, future news, but also like we mentioned, if any urgent news or with anything going on right now, you can also put it up live right away. You set your expiration date, and with the expiration date, you can set a time. So if you have a big game on Saturday that you want to promote, you can set your end date to be Saturday, and let's say the game starts at noon. So we're just going to set our end time to noon. So that way the splash page goes down as soon as that game is live. As I mentioned, you'll be able to include a graphic or video with this splash page. That's really going to be the visual element to the splash page. The graphic recommend being 800 by 600 pixels, as you can see here. And you can either upload directly from this area, or you can browse to where you've already uploaded that image, select it, and use it as your graphic. You can also use a video instead of a graphic if you have a video that you want to share with users. It's a great way to kind of get it out there, maybe build some hype going into fall sports season. And the last item is the splash links. This allows you to link to external pages directly from the splash page. So if you're promoting a tournament that's coming up this weekend and you have a feed to your Stretch Live portal or anything like that, you can put in the link here and just put live video, and then you'll paste your link in over here to your Stretch portal or anything else, if it's a tournament page or anything like that. And once you have this here and you hit add, it'll allow you to add more links as well. So you can add a couple links to any splash page to allow users quick, easy access. And you can also put a permanent bypass link. This will allow a user to click that and select that they don't want to see that alert anymore when they come to the site. Again, that's not required. You can leave that off if you want them to. If it's an important message that you want to make sure every user sees, leave that off, and then they'll be forced to X out of that, manually X out of the splash page every time they come to your site. You hit save changes here, and you'll be all set with your splash page to either go live whenever you have it set.
Hey Neil, this is Charles. We have a question that came in from Chris Warden. He would like to know, is there a max size for video on the splash page?
So with those, we recommend making them, again, it's going to compress it down into our video feeder. Well, not compress, but it's going to take it down into our video window, which again, I believe is going to be about that 800 by 600 pixels for the splash page there. It's going to be pretty standard video screen, but I do not know the exact dimensions. But traditionally, if you just use a YouTube video or something like that for that section, anything hosted within Presto, it'll look fine in that video section. And it'll allow users to full screen and everything like that. It'll be a traditional video player. So yeah, thank you for that question, and thank you, Charles. We'll move on from splash pages now, and we'll get into the featuring of videos and photos. So this is something you'll use, and Tampa does not use this they don't have a video area that's live on their site, so there's not a great visual representation of how this works within their site. But the idea is basically we have our index files that allow you to feature photos and videos to a single file that creates a page that displays all that information in one page. So here I'm in the sports women's soccer 1920 photos area for Tampa. So as you can see here, we have some photos in place. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and feature these to this test file that headlines file that I've created, just so you have an idea of what I'm describing. The easiest way to go about featuring items that have already been added to your site is to go through and just check the box next to those items and hit feature. And then you'll come in here and you'll go through the list of items that allow you to feature photos. As you can see, photos are pretty popular, so there's going to be quite a few of these to go through. And there is mine, the photos test. We'll feature that content. And now if we take a look at this test file, you'll see that the 3 images are in there. And if we take a look at it on the front end, they'll load in there, and that's how that looks. So this is a way to create a photo gallery, video gallery, anything like that. So then if they, all these game day graphics, if Tampa were like, we want to show those, keep an archive of those if users want to use them, create a page with all these game day graphics, and you can add it to your menu here. Simply call it game day graphics. Somebody could come here and take a look, click on them, expand, and just see the images that have been featured there. The same exact idea works for videos in this sense. The other way to feature items, you can go into the file directly, edit, and you can use the add featured page item here to browse for each of these photos individually and add them to this file. That's just another way to go about featuring videos and photos. The next thing, and while we're in this area to go over, is the uploading of files. And one thing that I'll just go here from the beginning. One thing that Tampa does an amazing job of with their website tab is keeping everything organized. You know, we look a lot at the back end of a lot of websites, and it's very easy for people to start just uploading photos into what we call the root directory, which is just the base under your website tab. And if you do that, it's fine, but things aren't going to be organized, and it can quickly become very cluttered, where you can have hundreds and up to thousands of content directly under your content tab, and things become a little less organized. So I always recommend to users, especially new users just getting started, to always be aware of where they're uploading content and be purposeful with where they're uploading their content. For example, if we just had a soccer game and we got a bunch of photos from our photographer, we want to upload those so we know where they are. You can do it. The best way to do that is come through your website tab, go into your sports folder, pick your sport. For example, we were working on women's soccer. So we'll come in here, go into your year. We'll just go into the 2021 season since we set it up. And you'll notice that once we set up the season, there's going to be this photos folder, and it's going to be empty. This is a place where you can come in and upload all those photos, and you know exactly where they're going to be stored and exactly what they are, because they're going to be women's soccer photos from 2020-21. So once you're in this photos area, you can come under here, under options, click add here, and then go ahead and hit upload files. This will take you to our file uploader. This is where you can then drag and drop or browse for all your images in this case. But this is also where you can upload PDFs or any other content, videos, anything else that you might want to have in the site for any reason to host. You can upload here, and it'll come through. Everything will download, and when you're done, you can just hit this done button, and it'll take you back to that section, and all your photos or the content you've uploaded will now be displaying here. You can also upload all of this photos specifically and videos as well through Game Day, and when you do those, they're going to create folders with all that content in this photos area as well. So I always recommend to people to be very, like I said, specific and purposeful with where you're uploading content. For example, if you're uploading some PDFs or other stuff like that, there's a general folder that every site should have, and you can come in here and just, you know, they're going to be organized by year as well, because this again is system generated every time you set up that general releases season in Game Day. And you can come in here and keep your general content a little more organized, just so you have an idea of where it is. And under just a quick throw in here with uploading files, when you're here, if you want to upload some stuff, but you're not sure where to put it, you're just not seeing anything that really fits that description with these sections, you can always add your own new section. So come under the options, add here. And for your content type, you'll come down and select section. That's what we call our folders. Hit continue. Hit continue. And now you have a new folder here that you can upload content to and do anything you'd like. So if you are one of those sites that has a lot of photos under your root directory that are old, outdated, you're not really sure how they got there or anything like that, one thing that can happen is you could come through, create a folder to just throw all those photos into, just to kind of clear up some space. Again, just an idea to throw out there.
Hey, Neil. Sorry
Yes.
to interrupt you. I got a question from Michael Hawkins asking to add a roster footer for New Year. Can that be done through the Game Day portal? If you could just show him how to do that through the website tab, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So roster footers, great throw out there. I appreciate that. Let's see if Tampa has one set up, just so you have a visual. Well, it's already on the roster of what a roster footer looks like. Perfect, they do. So as you can see here, Tampa chooses to include the text down here under their roster, listing out the coaches, that then links to the coach's bio and everything like that. So the roster footer is something that needs to initially be set up through the website tab. So if you come in, we go into our sports, And we were looking at men's soccer there, so we'll go into men's soccer and the 2020-21, and you'll see this file here called roster-footer. So that's what Tampa has set up here that has all of that information. As you can see, it's just text here. You can put anything in there that you want. Obviously, text is probably the best way to go about it, just to list out stuff there. So to set this up, what you'll do is come into that specific sport and the year. That's where you'll need to be, because that makes sure this applies directly to that year's roster and no other year's roster. You'll click Add Here. Under your content type, you'll select an article rich. Hit Continue. And again, this has to be a specific file name for our system to read it. So you're going to go roster-footer, hit Continue. And then it's just like any other article rich page. And like I showed you just a second ago, this is where you can add all your text, whatever you might want that to be. You'll hit Save Changes. And then you'll automatically have this file here, and it will automatically be showing at the bottom of your roster for that sport in that year. So yeah, that's appreciate that one there. That's a quick and easy one. That's just a way to add a little more flair and a little more content to some of your rosters if you want. So the final piece we'll be covering here right now is going over the marketplace reports, which, give me 1 second here. We're going to have to go on the fly here, because Tampa doesn't use any of our paid services, which you know, they don't collect any money through camps or paid forms or anything like that. So they don't have what we have called our marketplace tab up here at the top of their site. But if it were there, basically you could go to the marketplace tab, and I'm going to set this up really quickly just so we can see. So let me adjust my screen share here real quick. Okay, so you guys should be seeing that webinar right now. Give me 1 second here to set this up. Okay, so I apologize for that. So now we're back here and we can see the Marketplace tab is available. So you'll come into your Marketplace tab, and this is a new feature that we've added with our rollout of Presto Pay earlier this year. It's a great new item that allows end users, anyone that runs camps or paid forms, as I mentioned, through Presto, now has to enroll through our Presto Pay program. But what this allows is us to make frequent daily deposits of money into your accounts. So you're going to get your payments much quicker, get your money quicker from all your registrations or anything that you might be collecting. And then you can also come in and generate your own reports. So all you'll do is come to the Marketplace tab, go to Transactions, and select your date range. As you can see here, right now it's limited to 3 months. But what I recommend doing, and what makes the most sense for most users, is just collecting this form every month. So you would just set your April dates. As you can see, we're set for April 1st through April 30th. You'd select your merchant from this menu, and then you'd hit Generate Report. And what this will do is create an Excel sheet that has all of your information from that registration. So if it's a camp, it's going to include the camper name, camper email, the price they paid, and it's also going to show the price cut, the cut that Presto takes. So it'll show your net pay and everything like that. So you know exactly how much money you're going to be getting and when you're going to be getting those deposits and who had made those payments. So this is just a new feature that we've rolled out that allows you to track all these payments yourself as part of the new Presto Pay platform.